Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome back to the next episode of Spin Cycle Live. I'm your host, Nathan Hale. Today, we have yet another great episode for you. So much to talk about, so much to cover, and so little time to do it. Before I get into all of it, make sure you're following me on all the different social media platforms, including my new Substack. All of it is linked in the description down below, as well as in the link in my bio on my X account. So, I hope you're all doing so well. Today is Tuesday, August 19th, 2025. And boy, do we have a lot to get into. So much to cover, so much to talk about. I do want to say, there was a meeting between Trump and Putin over the Russia-Ukraine war. That's not going to be covered today. The reason why I'm not getting into it is nothing's really happened from it other than they met and discussed. And there was also a meeting with some other world leaders. And I think I saw that Trump was in the process of making a meeting between Zelensky and Putin over getting the war ended. But in terms of the actual, nothing's really happened with all of that. So I like to cover stories of stuff that's actually going on, not like, oh, great, we're never a step closer to ending this war, right? That's been going on for years now. So I'll be talking about that more when there's an actual end date in mind or an actual agreement has been made. So anyways, let's get into our very first story today. So we have a lot of Fox News stories today, which typically I wouldn't want to cover a whole bunch of stories from one single outlet, but that's just kind of how it happened today. So this comes from, pull up my screen here for you all. So Rubio's State Department yanks more than 6,000 student visas due to assault, burglary, and support for terrorism. So I woke up and saw this morning. I was like, okay, well, this is interesting. We've been talking about this for quite a while. It looks like it's finally happening. So the State Department has yanked more than 6,000 student visas in 2025 for overstays and law violations, including support for terrorism, Fox News Digital has learned. So the Trump administration has launched multiple initiatives aimed at cracking down on immigration and revoking visas of those who attended academic institutions in the U.S. Those who participated in pro-Palestinian protests have faced heightened scrutiny, as one example, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio said in May that the administration was reviewing the visa status of those students. The roughly 6,000 visas that were pulled were primarily due to visa overstays or encounters with the law, including assault, DUIs, burglary, and support for terrorism, the State Department told Fox News. Quote, every single student visa revoked under the Trump administration has happened because the individual has either broken the law or expressed support for terrorism while in the United States, a senior State Department official said in a statement to Fox News Digital. About 4,000 visas alone have been revoked because these visitors broke the law while visiting our country, including records of assault and DUIs. Those who had their student visas yanked due to assault, roughly 800 students, either faced arrest or charges stemming from assault, according to the State Department. Those whose visas were pulled due to support for terrorism, between 200 and 300 people, engaged in behavior such as raising funds for militia groups such as Hamas, which the U.S. State Department has designated a terrorist organization, the official said. Although the State Department told Fox News that approximately 40,000 visas have been pulled in 2025 in comparison to the 16,000 that were revoked during the same time frame under the Biden administration. So I think this is great. I see nothing wrong with this. If you are when you have a visa for the United States, or any country for that matter, you are a guest of that country, right? If I got a visa to go and visit a foreign country, right? For instance, if I got a visa to go and visit Germany or Sweden or even China for that matter, right? If I got a visa to go to any of these countries, I'm a guest in those countries, right? I should be on my best behavior in those countries, right? I'm there to visit and to experience their culture and to experience what they have to offer as a nation. I'm not there to raise money for terror groups. I'm not there to get drunk at a college party and go and get pulled over by a cop, right? If you are here on a student visa, as far as I'm concerned, you should be studying your ass off every night. Not going out and partying, not going out and getting crimes, not going out and burglarizing people, not going out and assaulting people, right? You should be kicked out of our country if you're doing that, right? And the legal citizens in the United States who are doing that also should have repercussions for that as well. But they're citizens, right? They get to stay here, right? They were born in this country. They legally are allowed to be here, right? We can't kick those people out. But if you're here as a guest, I see no reason that we should not be kicking you out if you go and commit a crime of any nature in our country. We only want the best to be in the United States, right? Now, what you're going to hear is the same argument that was made when the State Department revoked handing out visas to certain African countries, right? What you're going to hear is that, oh my gosh, these poor college students, they're just here to make a better way for themselves in the American education system and live the American dream. If they were truly here to live the American dream and make a better life for themselves, they would not be getting DUIs. They would not be burglarizing people. They would not be supporting terrorist groups, right? Just think about it for a second. But what we heard when the State Department revoked visas from like a whole bunch of different African countries, we covered it earlier this year on this very show, was the entire context was not given, right? The context when the State Department stopped handing out visas to those countries was, hey, a lot of people that we're handing out visas to, right? Or we put a travel ban on those countries is, hey, the people coming over here overstaying their visas, we don't know where they are, right? Or we ask the countries where these people are coming from for any sort of criminal record, and they won't give it to us. Or we go and try and deport these people back to their country of origin, and their country of origin won't take them back. I don't know how that works. I don't know why we can't just leave them at the airport and let them figure it out. But needless to say, you're going to hear this, oh, the poor them. How about the poor Americans that could have been endangered because of these people, because these student here on visas, right? What about the poor Americans that could have lost their lives because a drunk college student who was here on a visa went out driving and got pulled over, right? What about the poor Americans who were assaulted or burglarized because of students here on visas, right? And that's not to scrutinize or to bring light to the legal citizens here who are doing those very same things, right? They should have the full force of law enforcement brought down on their backs if they did the same crimes that these students here on visas were doing. But it's just different, right? They're not guests in the United States, right? These people are. So that's all I have to say about that. And yeah, I think it's great. Get rid of them. We don't want them here. If they're not providing for our country, get them out. All right. We got another story here. So Indiana woman faces federal charges for social media threats to disembowel President Trump. All right. So I heard about this. I'm like, okay, let's see what this has to be. So an Indiana woman is facing federal charges for allegedly making deadly threats against President Donald Trump via social media, including one in which she wanted to disembowel the commander-in-chief. That's quite the social media statement, if I do say so myself. So Natalia Rose Jones, age 50, of Lafayette, Indiana, is charged with threatening to take the life of, kidnap, or inflict bodily harm upon the President of the United States, and transmitting in interstate commerce communications containing threats to kidnap any person or threaten to injure the person of another, the Justice Department said. Quote, threatening the life of the president is one of the most serious crimes and one that will be met with swift and unwavering prosecution. Make no mistake, justice will be served. The U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro, quote, we extend our deepest gratitude to our dedicated law enforcement partners, especially the Secret Service special agents from New York and Washington, D.C., for their tireless commitment to protecting our leaders and our nation. Jones came to the attention of federal authorities when U.S. Secret Service agents found an Instagram user account, Nath.Jones, had posted threatening comments about Trump between August 2nd and August 9th, the Justice Department said. The user called Trump a terrorist, referred to President Trump's administration as a dictatorship, and stated that Trump had caused extreme and unnecessary loss of life in relation to the coronavirus. The orders also called for him to be removed from office. From August 6th to the 15th, Nath.Jones allegedly continued to post threatening comments about Trump on Facebook. Federal prosecutors said an August 6th post directed at the FBI states that, quote, I am willing to sacrificially kill this POTUS by disemboweling him and cutting out his trachea with Liz Cheney and all the aforementioned present. Okay. In an August 14th post directed at Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, Nath.Jones allegedly wrote, quote, please arrange the arrest and removal ceremony of POTUS Trump as a terrorist of the American people from 12 to 2 p.m. at the White House on Saturday, August 16th, 2025. Jones voluntarily agreed to an interview with the Secret Service during which she called Trump a terrorist and a Nazi, authorities said. She said if she had the opportunity, she would kill Trump at the compound if she had to, and that she had a bladed object, which she said was the weapon she would use to carry out her mission of killing the president. So, can someone inform the DOJ of all of the thousands of accounts on Twitter right now who are also calling for the death of the president? I mean, I feel like we had a huge blip of them maybe a month or so ago. You remember the whole 47 thing that I think didn't James Comey post a picture of he put in the beach 8647 referencing killing the president, right? And a whole bunch of people on the internet just went on with that and started wearing hats that said 8647. I see bumper stickers now saying 8647, right? And they're saying, we don't actually mean to kill the president. We just mean, get him out of office, remove him from office, right? End his presidency, right? We don't mean kill him, Sure you don't. I'm sure you don't. How about all the people that literally said they want to see Donald Trump end next? Or every time a major celebrity dies, I remember when Ozzy Osbourne passed away, unfortunately. Very sad about that. That a whole bunch of people were on the internet and tweeting that, hey, wish it could have been Donald Trump and not Ozzy. Are you kidding me? Right? Where's the DOJ for all these threats? Right? What this woman said almost seems typical of a lot of people on the internet right now, what they're saying. Why is she the one who's having the hammer of justice brought down upon her, not all these other people, right? So, we'll see. And I also want to point out, it's always the left that is calling for violence, right? When George Floyd was sadly killed, what happened? The left called for violence. When Donald Trump was running for the presidency again, what did the left do? Call for violence. What happened to Donald Trump? He was almost killed 3 separate times, right? He was shot in the ear one time, and 2 other people show up on his golf courses trying to take him out? When something happens to Joe Biden, what does the right do? We're compassionate, right? We feel sympathetic, right? When Joe Biden was when it was announced that Joe Biden had cancer, what did people on the right do? Our condolences, right? Deeply sad to hear this information. No one should have to go through that. Feel sorry for his family, right? All of this. None of us. There was next to no one suggesting that Joe Biden deserved what he got, right? Yet people would say entirely different things if it was Donald Trump. So someone needs to tell the DOJ to get on the Twitter train and start going after some of these accounts. Maybe the FBI will get involved, as we're seeing in our next story. So, Bondi Patel tapped Missouri Attorney General as additional FBI co-deputy director alongside Dan Bongino. So I live in Missouri, right? I voted for Attorney General Andrew Bailey. So when I saw that he is moving up in the world to become a federal, become the co-deputy director of the FBI, I was intrigued. Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel are bringing on Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey as an additional deputy director of the Bureau, Fox News Digital has learned. Bailey will serve as a co-deputy director alongside Deputy Director Dan Bongino, Fox News Digital has learned. Quote, I am thrilled to welcome Andrew Bailey as co-deputy director of the FBI, Bondi told Fox News. Quote, he has served as a distinguished state attorney general and is a decorated war veteran bringing expertise and dedication to service. His leadership and commitment to country will be a tremendous asset as we work together to advance President Trump's mission. The FBI, as the leading investigative body of the federal government under the Department of Justice, will always bring the greatest talent this country has to offer in order to accomplish the goals set forth when an overwhelming majority of American people elected President Donald J. Trump again, Patel told Fox News, adding that Bailey will be an integral part of this important mission and said he looks forward to the continued fight to save America together. Bailey, as Missouri's Attorney General, launched an anti-human trafficking task force and addressed more than 1,100 reported incidents in Missouri. He also cleared the backlog of sexual assault forensic evidence kits to improve prosecution of sexual assault cases. Bailey's office also defended the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department in civil litigation and has consistently advocated for law enforcement. Bailey was endorsed by the Missouri Fraternal Order of Police. Bailey's office also reported a 133% increase in trial court level criminal prosecutions. Bailey has also held public officials accountable during his time as Attorney General. He demanded the resignation of a sheriff for financial mismanagement and separately announced a grand jury indictment against a St. Louis County executive for stealing an election law violation. My question is, what is happening in the FBI that they need 2 deputy directors? That's what I'm wondering, right? Now, I was thrilled to hear that Dan Bongino was going to be the FBI. I think that Dan Bongino is a great guy to help run the FBI. I've watched him for years, and I think that he's a good, honest man working in that department. My question is, why does he need an assistant? Why does he need a co-deputy, right? Why does the FBI need 2 deputy directors to be running? What is going on that they need this? That's what's not being said, and that's what I'm wondering is why is this happening now? I'm just curious. So I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully he adds the FBI, and hopefully more is done in the department to promote the America First agenda and to get a lot of these criminals locked up. Right? We have Tulsi Gabbard sending, information to the Attorney General and to the FBI saying, hey, we have people in our government that were trying to undermine a presidential election. Where is the prosecution towards them at? Right? They tried to go after Trump. Time to go after the other side, right? Maybe it opens up the door that we don't want to open, but the left already opened it up, so we might as well clean the swamp out. Who knows? I don't think that Andrew Bailey's a bad pick by any means. I'm a little disappointed to see that he's not going to be in Missouri anymore, considering that he's had a great track record so far. But, I'm sure he was picked for a reason, and I'm interested to hear more about what he has in store for the FBI. So, thought that was interesting when I passed that along. So our last story of today, wrap this show up with a nice little pretty bow on top. This comes from the New York Post. So, Texas Democrats return home, paving the way for GOP to pass new congressional map. They're back, guys. They came back. They ran away for like 2 weeks to evade doing their jobs, take a little vacation in Illinois, in Chicago, and now they're back. Thank goodness. Because God forbid the Democrats have to do their job, right? So Texas Democrat legislators who bailed on the Lone Star State earlier this month in a bid to thwart GOP redistricting efforts have returned, bringing an end to a 2-week deadlock and paving the way for passage of the Republican champion congressional map. The runaway lawmakers decided to make their return after initial special session was adjourned Friday and after California Governor Gavin Newsom announced plans to redraw district lines in the Golden State in a bid to cancel out the Texas GOP's redistricting push. The Texas House Democrat Caucus said in a statement that they would, quote, launch the next phase in their fight against the radical gerrymandering that provoked a weeks-long standoff with Texas Governor Greg Abbott and President Trump. ... The State House of Representatives was gavelled in the session at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, with 30 Democrats still absent, but enough present to establish a quorum which requires the presence of 100 of the legislature's 150 members. Quote, we are done waiting. We have a quorum. Now is the time for action. We will move quickly, and the schedule will be demanding until our work is complete, GOP House Speaker Dustin Burrows said in the chamber. Texas currently has 38 congressional districts represented by 25 Republicans and 12 Democrats, with one vacancy. The GOP proposal opens the door to 30 Republican favoring districts and 8 Democrat favoring districts, according to the election analyst David Westerman. Meanwhile, Newsom announced a November referendum on a new map that could allow Democrats to nab as many as 5 more congressional seats out west. Republicans currently have 219 to 212 majority in the U.S. House of Representatives with 4 vacancies. So, what is that? 7-seat difference right now in Congress and the House of Representatives, and what? Texas is wanting to add how many did we say? 8. Let's see. Did I skim over it too fast? Where was I? Should have highlighted it more. I think they're wanting to go from 20 to 25. Where is it? I know, here we go. So they currently have 38, represented by 25 Republicans, 12 Democrats. So they're wanting to go up to 30. So they're wanting to gain 5 seats, right? And there's a 7-seat difference in Congress right now. But Democrats are working to get as many as 5 more Democrat congressional seats out west. So that would just completely cancel out what Texas is doing. So let's be clear for a moment, right? Gerrymandering and redrawing congressional districts to benefit your party only benefits the party. It does not benefit the people in the state, right? Texas Republicans are already overrepresented in Congress. If you look at election results historically and the amount of representatives they have, Texas Republicans are already overrepresented in Congress. California Democrats are already overrepresented in California. What these 2 states need to do is actually giving more seats to the opposite side, right? California needs to be giving more Republican seats. Texas needs to be giving more Democrat seats, right? To actually be fair. But instead what's happening is Texas is redrawing congressional boundaries. California is going to do the same thing and redraw theirs. And it's going to cancel each other out, right? There's going to be no net change in seats. Or almost none, right? Every state could gerrymander their seats into the sunset, and there would be little to no change in the actual overall makeup of Congress. There's only so much you can do as a state, and you do have to follow a certain set of rules when you're drawing congressional districts. You can't just draw them for absolutely no reason, right? So what does this mean, right? It means that who's really being hurt here are the people, right? California Republicans are being hurt here. They're not being represented by someone who holds their values, right? They're being alienated by the state, right? Their vote does not matter in California, right? Texas Democrats in a lot of these districts, their vote does not matter, right? They are being disenfranchised by their state by having their congressional boundaries drawn so they don't have representation of what they want, right? And at the end of the day, I just want things to be fair, right? I want people to be represented by someone who represents them. I want states to send congressional delegations that actually represent their states. Not what Texas and California are doing right now, where they're sending delegations that do not represent their state, that overly represent parts of their state, right? That overly represent the majority, vastly overrepresented, right? So I'm not a fan of this. If you want to hear more of my thoughts, I'm going to have an article going up on Substack very soon talking about all of this in depth and a solution that we can fix this. We don't have to live in the system. We don't have to, right? We're currently choosing to do it because our representatives want to live under the system, right? They want to benefit their party as much as they can, and no one wants to change because if the first state to say that we're not going to gerrymander, and by the way, everyone does it, both parties do it, it's been happening for hundreds of years. The first state to say, hey, we're not going to gerrymander anymore, we're going to draw our seats fairly, is going to shoot themselves in the foot, right? It's going to shoot whatever party is going to control that state in the foot. You might say, hey, California has an independent commission to redistrict. They really don't. They really don't. California Democrats are still overly represented. So how independent can you really say that commission is? Right? They're vastly overrepresented. It's not like California is a 60-40 state and they have 65% Democrats being sent to Congress. It's significantly higher than that, right? They really only have a handful of Republican seats, and a very, very few of those seats are even solidly Republican, right? Not even competitive seats. So, go read my article, and then when it comes up, you'll see it. It'll be announced on my Twitter. Subscribe to my Substack so it goes directly to your inbox when it does come out. But yeah, that's all I have to say about this. I'm interested to see what happens with all this and to see if redistricting actually works. What we really need is a new census to be done, right? I talked about that in my article as well. Is the census messed up? The 2020 census, they overestimated, underestimated population in the states, right? So what we really need is a new census to be done. So I hope that actually gets done by the Trump administration, and it's done fairly and it's done effectively. So we can actually see how many congressional seats all these states are entitled to, because I guarantee that there are a lot of them who are missing a seat or two. But with that, that's all I have to say on this episode of Spin Cycle Live. Be sure to join me back here on Thursday for yet another episode of the show. We'll have even more stories to cover, even more to talk about. And with that, make sure you're following me on all the social media platforms linked in the description down below, linked in my bio on my X account. Subscribe to my Substack. And with that, I will see you all very soon. This has been Spin Cycle Live. I've been Nathan Hale. Peace out.